The bit
is over.
Doing.
The bit. Everyone remain calm.
I'm Aaron Gaines.
And I'm Aaron Johnson.
And you're listening to Double A's, Batteries Not Included. Nice.
Yeah, I did it this time.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to episode 2 of Double A's.
Batteries Not Included.
Episode 1 went really, really well.
It did.
I was very satisfied with it after hearing the final product.
I think we're good talkers.
We are good. We are
good
two.
We talk good.
Yeah, there you go. We don't talk so good.
I think we have enough to say. I think is what I was trying to.
For sure, yeah.
We have enough to say about a topic that we can fill time.
Yeah, we brought something very good to the table because if there's one thing the world needs, it's 2 more white men having a podcast.
2 straight white cis males
talking about media.
Talking about media because I've not seen one. I've not seen one. Podcast.
Not a one.
Regardless, I think it'll be a good time.
Yes, 100%. It's just a joke. Just jokes.
It's a joke.
It's a joke.
Jeez.
God.
Hey, how's your day?
Great. I had to go grab a package off of my off of where you get packages.
You don't say. I would have never guessed. The place where you get packages.
Yeah, because it's not
Your
as
home?
It's my home, but I don't want to get into the whole thing. It's just not as conventional, so I have to drive up a driveway to get my packages.
Gotcha.
So I go to get in my car, and as I'm in my car, I start. I'm in there. I'm like, it smells like garbage in here, and I keep my car moderately clean.
Not me.
Right. Like I don't leave garbage in there. You'll find a lot of paper, just not a lot of garbage.
Right.
And I start smelling garbage. I'm like, what? Why does it smell like garbage in here? Only to remember that I forgot to go to the dump 4 days before.
4 days.
4 days. I had to drop some things off at the post office on Friday. I grabbed the bag of trash on my way out, and I drive a hatchback. It's such a small car. So I put it, and it's just hidden behind the back seat. And I was so focused on getting to the post office on time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I dropped the stuff off, and I go back home, and I didn't get in my car. I didn't drive the rest of the weekend. I get in there to go get my packages, and I'm like, why does it smell like garbage? And the garbage bag was still in the back. So I had to drive that to the dump, get all the Febreze and the Lysol, and it was a terrible time. I will not make that same mistake again.
So was it just like food and stuff in
there's some food, definitely. There was I have a nephew that is just over 1 year old, 1 year old rather, and there was definitely some dirty diapers in there.
No.
But it was not as strong as it could have been. Like if it wasn't.
I mean, it smelled like baby shit, but it wasn't like the worst baby shit you've ever smelled. Like, it's fine.
Listen,
that's so funny.
Shout out to Outcast because it smelled like roses.
Shout out to my boys in Outcast because it smelled like roses. Lord, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So you threw it away and then you just Lysol'd everything.
Yeah.
Air fresheners.
Yeah, it's very on brand for something like that to happen to me. As this whole thing unfolds, we'll get into stories of just like why Aaron is Aaron. Yeah.
Same. So we have another thing in
perfect. Both Aaron.
We're both dead batteries, is what I'm trying to say.
Dead batteries.
And this is hopefully our recharge. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that happened.
How about you? How was your day? How was your weekend?
Day was fine. It was slow at work, so nothing exciting to report. But this past weekend, I got to go over to a friend's place, and it was her and her boyfriend, and I finally got to meet her parents. I've known her for like 4 years now, and I still hadn't like seen her parents ever because they're always like away. But they're home for the holidays. And
they sound like spies.
They're spies.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just Spy Kids is what I'm
okay, sweet.
I'm trying to talk about. I met Antonio Banderas. He's a great guy. No, they were so nice. They were so cool, and we watched Bo Burnham's What because her boyfriend Alec loves Bo Burnham, and I was like, oh my god, I love Bo Burnham, and she's never seen anything by Bo Burnham. So he was like, well, we got to show her all of it.
Oh yeah, and you can't like start with Inside.
We were like debating. We were like, do we just show her Inside?
Oh, you can't
it's so
start
different.
with that.
Well, then I was like, well, also I don't feel like being sad tonight, so
That's
how about
true.
we watch the funny one? So we watched What, and then after that we watched The Holiday, and it was a great night. We had hot chocolate, we had popcorn. Oh, dude. It was really nice.
The holiday season is such a great time.
Oh yeah,
like you can have hot chocolate at any time of the year, but like just having it in like it's cold here at this time, and so just having it, relatively like it changes every day
within reason.
We had a tornado warning this morning, and now it's 30 degrees.
So who knows what's gonna happen tomorrow? But no, yeah, like a hot chocolate this time around with some friends, watching a holiday film.
Yes.
It was really nice. It's helping me get in the spirit, for sure.
100%.
I'm more in the spirit for this holiday this year than I was last year, for sure.
Yeah.
Last year I was like, oh, it's Christmas? Oh, cool.
Yeah, 2020 was everything was blurring together.
Yes.
Like you blink, because I thought that quarantine was just going to last for the duration of how long it took me to watch Tiger King.
And then once I was done, they were going to lift up the bands and we were going to be okay.
And that didn't happen.
And it didn't. Newsflash! It didn't happen.
And now Tiger King 2 is out.
And now we have a second one.
I cannot.
I still haven't watched the first one.
Have you not?
No, I'm very bad. I've talked about this a lot. I'm very bad at keeping up with trends and watching things that are popular or listening to things that are popular, because for some reason everyone starts talking about it. And I hate saying this because everyone's going to be like, ugh. But like, it's unfortunately true where if it's something's so hyped up, I'm like, I can wait. Because
that's fair.
Everyone's talking like Squid Game. I'm not seeing a lick of it at all. I'm just now trying to finish Breaking Bad. we talked about it last time. I started it way
show
back when.
That came out in 2000,
like 8 years ago. Yeah. 12 years
buddy.
ago. Listen, okay, 12 years ago.
Actually,
and then
13. I'm so sorry. I just made it worse. Okay,
enough.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. I still haven't listened to Adele's new album. It took me a second to listen to all of Montero. I did, but it was like a few days. But
right.
So I'm just like behind, and so
yes,
so that's why I still haven't watched Tiger King.
Absolutely.
And now there's the second one, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta.
Yeah. At this point, you know what? I think it's commercialized at this point. So I'm just like, a sequel? No. So
it's
I'll probably watch it.
It's like too formed now. Like the original one came out of nowhere. And it didn't have any lead up, and everyone was like, "What's this?"
Exactly.
And then everyone happened to fall in love with it. Well, now this one is preceding the love and the hype from the first one, and now it's like,
it doesn't feel organic. Like I think
Yeah.
the first one, because the creators of it were kind of putting, they were making something that the people they were interviewing did not know they were making. They thought it was just a standard documentary, but it ended up being just the whole crime thing that just and so because everybody was so upset about the final cut of it, and then the post-series interviews with Joe McHale, which was outstanding, by the way. I think that was my favorite part of the whole thing. Joe McHale just sits down on Zoom with everybody in the show.
Wow.
And just is like, so how do you feel about that? And he's, Joe McHale, he does not give a shit about anybody.
Right.
But that was the most interesting thing. And so I felt like that was a good button for that whole thing. But now it's just gonna exhaust itself. Like I think I'm gonna watch Tiger King 2 just so I know what I'm talking about before I make judgments. But if it goes to 3, I'm done.
I haven't heard anyone talk about Tiger King 2, so I'm like, that's why I'm like, I guess I don't have to watch it immediately,
right?
Because no one's talking about it.
Yeah.
But maybe that'll make me want to watch it immediately.
Exactly. Like I'm more or less the same when it comes to like wanting to not like hop on trends right off the bat. But it's like I end up watching them just because like I want to enjoy it.
Yes.
But one that I think we both kind of got ahead of, and I think just because of the atmosphere right now, was Tick Tick Boom.
Yes.
Tick Tick Boom blew me away.
It was so good. Yeah, you were telling me that you finally watched it.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about it last week. I had not seen it yet. All of my friends were saying, you got to watch Tick Tick Boom. You got to see it. I love I heard a couple songs from it. I love the music from it. And so I finally got to sit down and watch it with my mom and my mom. We love musical theater. Like that's just our big thing together.
For sure.
And I love Jonathan Larson. I love Rent. I love everything that he put out, and this way of storytelling I think is amazing.
Incredible.
And just seeing Tick Tick Boom and seeing Andrew Garfield in that, and just seeing him in such a contrasting role of what I've seen him do before.
Fair.
And I think just with the atmosphere of, I feel bad for him just because there's so many rumors about him being in the Spider-Man movie that everybody's focusing on that, except Stephen Colbert, bless his heart.
Bless him. Doing the Lord's work.
Exactly. And so I feel bad that Tick Tick Boom is not getting... It's getting hype, but it's not getting as much as I think it should.
Correct. This needs to be, it should be talked about way more, and there should be so many like interviews and clips and all this stuff, yada yada about it. But what's flooding media at all, with including Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man?
Exactly.
So it's getting drowned out, and it doesn't deserve it because it's so great.
Exactly.
It's such a great film.
So speaking of talking about Spider-Man too much, our number one
from if you remember from last week, our number one superhero was Spider-Man. And as it should be. I'm sorry. Yeah. He's the greatest.
He's the man.
Said and done. No more. Next week we're gonna be talking. You know what? For audio listeners, we acted like we were gonna leave the room. So Spider-Man, phenomenal. What are thoughts?
Amazing, spectacular, friendly neighborhood, and Across the Spider-Verse, which just dropped the other day, part 1. Totally excited for that. Oh my gosh,
don't know what to expect, but already I'm like, well, it's gonna be great.
the part 1 threw me for a loop.
Yeah. When I first saw the trailer for Across the Spider-Verse, when I was reading it, I guess I read the part 1 as like, because it said first look afterwards. Oh, okay. And I thought it was like, oh, we're getting 2 first looks at it, and then we're getting what's happening. And then by the end of the trailer, it was like Across the Spider-Verse part 1. And I was like, oh, okay.
Series.
They're confirming. They're like, there's going to be more. At least 2.
That would be amazing. Like if it's going to be like a series thing, I hope that they kind of go with like an every 2-year thing. It's fine, but it's like, I miss like Harry Potter. Whenever Harry Potter would come out, you would get a new movie every year.
Yeah.
With Spider-Verse, I would like each year. I think that would be really cool.
Each year.
Yeah, just that we don't have to wait another 2 whole years for something.
Yeah.
And I know, like, whenever we're talking animation, I know animation takes a long time.
I was about to say, that's the only hurdle I could see.
Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, shit, even with Toy Story, I mean, you got one, like, every 10 years.
Yeah.
Something like that.
They're still pumping them out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but it looks like it's going to be phenomenal.
Oh, for sure.
The look is great. The characters are back. It gave us just enough to be like, what is going to happen in this one? And then 2099, Spider-Man's back.
I'm so excited for...
Which I knew he would be, but it's good to see him in this clip that they
Absolutely.
gave us.
I love to see like who else is going to be in it. If they're going across all these universes now, like what's new? Like who are they going to encounter? What villains are they going to encounter? And why?
Like, why did she have to come back and grab him?
Mm.
I guess
you can't help but analyze everything in like all these trailers. Like, I think WandaVision is kind of ruined.
It's ruined it. And I was just about to say that. I was like, I wouldn't have tried to overanalyze this if it hadn't have been for all of us trying to overanalyze WandaVision when it was coming out. I didn't get that bad, but still, I now find myself being like, what does it mean?
Exactly.
And I have to tell myself like, hey, you don't have to know.
Yeah.
You can wait and figure it out. But enough about that. Jumping just into Spider-Man in general.
Yes.
If you could put into a few words why he's your number one, what do you think it would be?
That is a great question.
Right?
I think just what the creation of Spider-Man was for. the fact that it was just the normal, everyday teenager kid acquiring these powers just by happenstance. Like it was the right place at the right time. And there was no lineage of people before him. There was no,
born with powers.
There was no born with powers. He is not rich by any means. And that plays a huge part into his character as well. It was just a right place at the right time and literally could have been anyone. And I think that just that in itself really just attracted me to what this character is and what he stands for.
For sure.
So what are your thoughts?
For me, I think it's the same thing. I think like if I had to say a reason, it's just because like he speaks to me in a way that no other superhero does, because he's relatable. Yeah, he's so relatable, and like for me specifically, I relate to him on like the putting everyone else before yourself thing, and then like there's times where you suffer from that and you don't know like what to do, and you have those conflicts. Like I totally feel him on that, and then because I'm out here saving the world
I put on a mask every day.
It happens to me all the time.
I come home with hot food on this table.
I make those webs to provide for you. No, I feel with him on that, and then I think simply because he is a teenager, he's supposed to be a younger character, that's why I've always felt some sort of connection to him, because he's up there playing with the big dogs, and he's still trying to manage high school. Like what? He
just gets thrown into this whole new world. Like who knows where Peter Parker would have gone had he not been. I'm sure there's a comic somewhere talking about that, but but just thinking about it just from this surface level of what would he have done if he was just not Spider-Man. He would have probably just gone to college, gotten his degree, because he was still smart. He was incredibly smart. He was able to make his own web shooters, depending on the iteration that you're going with. Yep. And so he would have just lived a normal life as a normal person. Whereas if Bruce Wayne was not Batman, still a billionaire. If Iron Man decided not to be Iron Man, still a billionaire. If Superman had not come to Earth, he still would have had his powers.
He would have died.
He would have. I forgot about that.
He would have stayed on Krypton and died. Yeah. If he like didn't go to Earth and become Superman, he would have just gone somewhere else, but still would have been a person with powers. Right. Yeah, still would have been a superhero. But yeah, if Peter didn't get that, if that didn't happen to him, he'd just be like a guy. Just be like a normal guy.
Normal dude.
He'd be a scientist of something. That sounded so smart. I know. I don't know what he would have gone into, bioengineering or chemistry or any of that. But like some sort of scientific field. Yeah. But he would have done that. He would have just been a geeky little boy. Because I think because of him being Spider-Man, becoming Spider-Man, I think that has helped him grow out of his like shyness and awkwardness, like for sure. Because if he wasn't Spider-Man, who's to say like he probably just wouldn't have been as brave or like courageous. Yeah. So he probably would have taken less chances.
Exactly. Like being able to put on like that mask and be able to be whoever you want underneath it without anybody knowing that it just awakens something in you. Like just that idea behind it. Yeah. And like just the contrast in his character from whenever he is Peter Parker, he's the nerdy, laid back, shy person. And then in Spider-Man just immediately just goes into this whole other confidence because of that. Yeah. And there's so many dynamics with his character and like the people that he interacts with outside of it and just what continues to form him as he goes on each of his like endeavors, like throughout his journey of trying to find who he is. Yeah. And with that comes the struggle of not only now is he trying to figure out who Peter Parker is, but he's also trying to figure out who Spider-Man is. Like what is Spider-Man's purpose? What is going to be the purpose from here on out? How do you balance that? And there's just so many things that are very just endearing about him.
Yeah, for sure. He's just so charming. I really love him. I think he's also just has the best heart of any superhero out there.
Absolutely.
Just very, like, always humble, mostly.
Mostly. Yeah.
Mostly always humble.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
You're right. As soon as I said humble, I was like, well, except for that movie. Humble and putting people before him, and him just like wanting everyone to be okay. He just wants a safe place to live, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so, you're just like, ugh. Like he's a Boy Scout in a superhero costume.
Absolutely.
You know?
And like just, and you really just start feeling for him because you know all these wants that he has. Like he wants just everything to go right. And just the realizations, the several realizations that he has over time, like as his character develops, he just finds out that he can't save everyone. Like he can't be there to do everything and save everyone, whether it be referencing the movies, whether it trying to show up to Mary Jane's show and also save these kids from being hit by this truck, this 18-wheeler in the middle of Manhattan. And
for some reason,
and or trying to, which I'll get more into this as we unfold just different iterations of the character, but just juggling so much and wearing many hats or many masks, have you. Yeah, it's just a lot. Now, we grew up in a time where there was a lot of there were a couple different things happening with Spider-Man. So what was your first experience when it came to witnessing Spider-Man, whether it be the big screen, the small screen, in the video game form? Like, what was it?
So I couldn't tell you chronologically, like, what my first experience was, because I'm just like, from as far back as I can remember, I just loved Spider-Man.
Yes.
But I think the three biggest elements that played into it were, I used to have a childhood best friend who was really into movies and television and comics, and he gave me some of my first comics, and some of them were Spider-Man comics, and I know that I loved that and loved him giving me those. And then I owned Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, the Raimi verse, on VHS, and I would watch them constantly.
Yes.
Just nonstop. And I would like reenact those scenes and like try to draw the Spider-Man and like do the drawing
during the
that
sequence?
he did. Yeah, for sure. And then also I used to love the animated Spider-Man show that was in the 90s. The
Amazing Spider-Man, the one with the very over-the-top voice acting at times, or are you talking about the one with Neil Patrick Harris that kind of came out right after not that one? Okay.
Yeah, the 2D cartoon. I don't know. I really loved that show, and I remember, funny enough, one of my favorite episodes is the episode where he meets all of his, or not all, but a lot of his other iterations from different multiverses with the help of, is it Madam Web?
Maybe. See, I just started that anime. Like, I watched it some as a kid, but like you just kind of catch a episode here and there.
Yeah.
But I just now started watching it on Disney Plus, and so I'm getting into that.
Getting into that, yeah.
But I do remember that episode.
Yeah. And I thought it was a crazy episode, and I used to rent the show at like a Blockbuster all the time, and you know, right, when you could do that.
Yeah.
But no, it's just one of those where as far back as I can remember, I've always loved him.
Yeah.
What about you?
About the same. So my brother's older than me, and so I basically, anything that I was into, he was into first.
Right.
And so
how much older?
My brother is 5 years older than me.
5 years, huh?
And so we had like Spider-Man action figures already. We had this really cool one where it almost looked like Spider-Punk. But it was almost like Peter Parker and Spider-Man together. I don't know. It was really cool. But and so I would play with the action figure, just kind of knowing what the character was. I would see episode here and there on Fox Kids. I remember the Fox Kids and Kids WB days. Oh,
for sure,
man. But I would just see just one here and there. But the first big experience that I had with him was the first Sam Raimi movie. I got that on VHS. And my brother, he was into the X-Men. And so like my parents, I think, thought that the X-Men was too mature for me.
Okay.
But Spider-Man was fine.
By like a hair of a margin. Maybe.
Yeah, I think maybe they thought I couldn't follow X-Men, but maybe Spider-Man was gonna, because I remember
X-Men was too complicated.
Right. I remember like just not sitting down and watch. Maybe it wasn't me. Maybe it wasn't even my parents. Maybe it was a me thing that I just did not have a desire to sit down and watch X-Men, but I had a desire to sit down and watch Spider-Man.
Sure. My mom loved the X-Men too. I think that's really funny. She was really about those original movies, and if I had a choice between those or Spider-Man, I would pick Spider-Man every time. But I mean, I love those too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And so just watching the same situation. I had the VHS. I would watch it on repeat, reenact the scenes. I remember the first year that I was able to be Spider-Man for Halloween. I would put...
Yeah.
I was actually talking about this on a live stream last night. I had my first Spider-Man costume. I would go to school and I would do... which honestly, Peter Parker influenced me to do my best in school because I wanted to be smart. I wanted to be like smart and get good grades, and so nice. I did. Which I'm sure that like many parents were like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, good for you. I did not. Kids. I did not take that in my stride. I was like, I want to act like that, so I'll do theater.
So yeah, I would go to school and I would like try to get good grades, and whenever I got home, I would do my homework, but I had to get it done because I had to go save the city.
Right.
So I would go to my room and I would put on the Spider-Man movie and I would put on my suit and just go out on missions in my room in my Spider-Man suit. And if my parents like were coming by or like knocking on the door, I would try to get out of my suit really quick so they didn't know.
Because it's your secret identity.
Exactly. Yeah. I had to protect them. Did you see what happened to Aunt May?
Did you see what Green Goblin did to
He blew half her fucking house up.
That's not going to happen to my mom and dad. No,
hell no. So I would change really quick.
Hide your secret identity.
Yeah.
Commitment.
Yeah, and like I would build cities with like my mega blocks. I would build New York and just swing around like with the I would, not me, but like the action figures. I would just like go through.
I would go to New York and I would swing around.
Just fly to New York
as a 7-year-old.
Yes. But I remember not watching the Neil Patrick Harris 3D Spider-Man TV series. It scared me. Yeah. It came out on MTV, right?
I think so. Okay. I didn't even know it was a thing until like way later because of either like YouTube or something. Right. But as I watched the first episode and I was just like, huh. All right.
Yeah.
And then that was
yeah, the score is so dramatic behind it. Like it's just there's a hum throughout the whole thing.
Yes.
It's ominous. It's so uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like an early 2000s hum.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, it's such a strange show. I appreciate it for what it is and like what it was trying to do because we just got to the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and so they were like, oh, we do need like a more teen or early adult edgier cartoon of Spider-Man. But like, that may not have been exactly it, but
it was actually the intention behind it was supposed to be in the same universe, at least loosely. Of what was happening. Yeah. But then it introduced characters that were already in there. Like he already fought like Kurt Connors, I believe, in that. And so to do that and just kind of go back to everything being normal in Spider-Man 2, the concept fell off very quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
And so so I don't have a high recollection of like a cartoon memory of Spider-Man other than like the original animated series. I didn't really get into like the Spectacular Spider-Man that was on Disney, the Marvel Spider-Man, anything like that. I want to go back now, but just at the time I just did not have a desire for it.
Yeah, same. The Spectacular and the like Disney XD Spider-Man era, I didn't really watch any of, but I do remember the animated Spider-Man, and then I also watched maybe Ultimate Spider-Man was like the next one after the animated where it was in the future.
A little more edgy than
it was like darker.
Yeah.
I thought that one was cool, but I didn't watch it enough to like have a real opinion. But just those are some earlier memories.
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man.
You mentioned Blockbuster. Did you ever play like the Raimi Spider-Man games whenever they were out?
The only one I owned because, the Spider-Man 3 came out. I got the Spider-Man 3 game.
That's such an interesting game.
It's such an interesting game. The favorite thing to do for me was to just swing around and just jump on top of the
100%.
highest buildings that you could. But I never made it past the final Sandman battle.
Yeah, that's so hard.
It's so hard.
I had it on the Wii, and like
I couldn't imagine trying to play that game on
difficult.
Wii. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, I was very much more the Spider-Man 2 game for. I had it for the GameCube. Which I got stuck. I kept getting stuck at certain parts. I just could not get past it. Well, I was at a like an old like retro game store.
Okay.
Somewhere close by, and I was able to buy like the original Spider-Man Raimi game and Spider-Man 2 as well, and I was able to beat them as an adult.
I feel like at some point I'm going to pull out my PlayStation 2 and be like, all right, I'm finally going to beat it, okay?
Oh,
if I was able to beat the Matrix video game, I can beat the Spider-Man 3 video game. I loved that game, and then I wasn't a huge gamer, but I had friends that were gamers, and I started watching at that point videos on YouTube of people doing gameplays, and I watched some people play through Web of Shadows and what's the other Spider-Man game? That's not that.
Friend or Foe? Nah, that wasn't really. It was a big one, but not really.
Right. There was that other one.
Was it Shattered Dimension? Wasn't that?
There we go.
Yeah.
Shattered Dimension. Yeah, those two. I watched people play those, and I was like, oh, I'd love to have these games one day, and then I never got them. But yeah, I wasn't a huge gamer, but I do remember those.
Sweet.
Absolutely.
Nice. So Spider-Man, whenever I think about Spider-Man, obviously you think about Stanley whenever it comes to anything Marvel, but just his passion and his love for Spider-Man specifically is totally unmatched. And it gets me choked up thinking that potentially the biggest Spider-Man movie that we're going to have right now is about to come out in a week from the time of recording this podcast. Yeah. And Stanley's not going to be able to cameo in it.
Yeah,
I hate to bring that up, but like that.
No, that's fair.
I get so choked up thinking about it.
Okay, so let's talk about this. After he passed, there was like talks, and I felt like confirmation that they had filmed a bunch of like stuff with Stan Lee and green screen and all this stuff, so that way, like they could have him appear in future films.
I remember hearing that too, but I don't know if they changed that just with the idea of what that is.
No,
like still putting him in post.
Right. No, I get it. But because at the time when I thought it was confirmed, I was like, that's so crazy that Stan Lee was just like, yeah.
Let's just bang him out.
He was like, why not? Because I could see him doing that.
Oh, for sure.
But at the same time, I'm sure as a whole, it just kind of seemed like is that really what you want to do, guys? Do you really want to capitalize on this dead guy?
Yeah, I wouldn't have liked that. I like the murals, and I like the magazine covers and stuff like that. That's cool. Like, I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Which I hope that they'll get some sort of mural or something like that in this for him and Steve Ditko as well, because we lost him recently.
Yeah.
But no, just whenever I was reading the Stanley Autobiography, which amazing read. I think it's The Amazing Life of Stan Lee is what it's called. Nice. And it looks like a comic book, like on the inside. Like, it's so cool. Huh. But just him talking about how Spider-Man had come to be. It was this character he thought up. He saw a spider just crawling on the wall, and it's like, you know what? Spider-Man, that works. He'd already gone through Mosquito Man, Fly Man, like all these other insect names.
Flyman. That's it.
Flyman, yeah. And so he came out with Spider-Man. He tried to pitch it to the head of Marvel at the time, and he goes, nobody cares about this character that's a teenager that has problems. What? We want beefy guys. We want Superman and da-da-da-da.
We want men, not boys.
Not boys. Now that we're men. And so he ended up putting, just out on a whim, just put it into Amazing Fantasy, which was a dying comic series that they had going on. And so he put him in that and just gave his origin, like it just told the story of Peter Parker, Uncle Ben, the whole shebang. And that ended up being the best-selling Amazing Fantasy that they had. And so the Marvel exec ended up coming back to him and saying, hey, what was that character I liked so much? Spider-Man? Hey, let's make it a series. And just the fact that it's so fitting of how it just accidentally happened like that.
Yeah.
You know, like
he was like,
just gonna
I'll
throw it
try
away.
it.
Yeah.
I'll just put it out there, see what happens.
Exactly. And just the passion that he had for it and the passion of which it continued to grow as time went on is just so insane. It's so insane.
No. Fair. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad we should be glad that he took that chance.
Yeah.
That he took that leap. Because if he just decided, like, not worth it.
Yeah, then Batman would be number one.
Batman would be number one. And that's all we had to say about that. Yeah, I love the video clip of Stanley at the college. Or is it a college or is it a conference?
We'll say conference.
Conference.
Yeah.
Him speaking about how he created Spider-Man.
Yes.
And his smile on his face and like going into detail about it, it makes me feel good that like he's so proud of this idea that he created.
Absolutely.
It's really cool.
Yeah, and just how much the legacy of Spider-Man has just continued to carry on, and it really just came to it just culminated. So going into the 90s, whenever Marvel had just come out of bankruptcy, and they were looking to just go into more of like the on-screen stuff of everything. Because they had the Spider-Man, they had the X-Men series going on in the 90s.
Yeah.
And so it was easy to sell those characters.
Yeah.
So they ended up selling to 20th Century Fox for the X-Men movies, because the first one came out in 99, I believe.
X-Men?
X-Men?
Yeah, it was either 99 or 2000, I can't remember.
Yes. But did you know that Marvel originally wanted to sell many characters to Sony, including Iron Man, Black Panther, Thor, Captain America, to Sony for $25 million.
Really?
And
well,
Sony, the head of Sony, and I quote, said, "Nobody gives a shit about those B-list characters."
Nice.
And so they
wow.
They bought Spider-Man for $7 million and greenlit the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie.
Yep.
Wow. If they had known
oh my god.
Less than a decade later.
I would punch myself in the face every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
And
just being like, hey, remember that one time that we were too big for our britches? And we said, nah, we don't need it. How about we don't do that ever again? Yeah. And now for the past like 7 to 10 years, they've been trying to fight
Disney on
those characters.
On Spider-Man, it's like you got to take your L and go. Like,
yeah.
All respect to Sony and everything they've done for the Spider-Man universe thus far.
And
they're
continuing
to do. But you can't deny you fumbled.
You fucked up.
You fumbled the bag.
You fucked up. And then, but we got the Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Yeah, we got the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, and it just really set the stage for so many superhero movies to come.
What a foundation to begin upon. What a more glorious cornerstone to what we have now. Because the X-Men came out and it was really good. I mean, I assume it did well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they had so many movies.
People
it's
liked
still
it.
Ongoing.
They're still trying to figure it out. But then Spider-Man came out and it was like, well, that's it. You're done. You've got it.
Yeah.
You figured it out. Don't break it. And then time progresses.
They broke it.
And they broke it. So what happened?
So Spider-Man 3, so many problems already were going on with Spider-Man 3 because, not at the beginning, because Spider-Man 2, massive success, blockbuster.
Yeah. It beat the first one.
Yeah. Sam Raimi had a foundation set already, and he had the grounds already building on Spider-Man 3. But Sony came in and wanted to capitalize on Venom. They wanted Venom because they saw that as he did so well in the animated series. He did so well in the comics. We need Venom on the big screen.
Fair.
Yeah, correct.
Fair.
But yes, the way of going about it just did not work.
It was so shoehorned for no reason. It's one of those moments where I'm sure that has a huge reason of why, or that's a huge reason why now Kevin Feige and Marvel are like holding out
Yes.
on so many things.
Yes.
Because, as it's been proven time and time again, which we'll get into again, you can't rush it.
No.
You can't.
You gotta...
There was a plan. There was a whole plan. Now, I'm sure you were going to talk about this. Did Raimi want to have Venom ever?
Raimi hated Venom.
Exactly.
He hated him.
Didn't want him at all. So, like, it's a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
It's a double-edged sword.
I'm sure he would have bit the bullet at some point. Eventually. But already being...
on his terms.
Yes. Already being so set on the movie that he wanted for Spider-Man 3, and then having to shoehorn Venom in, just... And, like, that's where it failed. A lot of people said, oh, it's the Bully Maguire. That's genius. I'm sorry, but that is a genius...
For the Raimi-verse and for those movies and for that time, yes, absolutely. Because I see it now that I'm older and wiser. I see it and I'm like, oh, I know who Sam Raimi is now, apart from Spider-Man. I know how he works.
Right.
Yes, that's exactly how that ended up being.
Yes.
Because of him. Yeah. Yeah, it's not, but those aren't the problems.
No, the problems were the story. Like, the story just introducing Venom in the last, half hour, if not 20 minutes of the movie?
Venom specifically, yeah, because we had the symbiote already and we had the black suit Spider-Man.
Yes.
But, yeah, for the character Venom to be brought in literally the last, 30 minutes of this film.
Yeah, and it was building so well. I think it was building well.
It was building so well.
They could have saved him for later.
I literally thought about this the other day. Because I've been watching people on YouTube react to the Spider-Man movies for the first time. And I was thinking about it and I was like, if they had left even though it wasn't the best, if they left the Topher Grace scene of him meeting Flint until the very end of the film, like an end credit, I think that would have that could have been better.
That's fair.
I agree with you. They should have saved the villain for another time, and I think even if they built up to Toby going to the cathedral and getting the suit off, I think it still would have worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because everything else was fine. It's literally up until that last act.
Absolutely. Or even made that scene where Eddie Brock goes to church to pray to God to kill Peter Parker.
You know what you do when you talk to God.
It's like, you know what? Find religion. Okay. Hey, can you kill somebody for me?
That thing you're so against now that you weren't before? If you could just do that again, smite him real quick, that'd be great. If you could just
smite him.
If you could just smite him out of my life.
And if they did that as the post-credit scene where he goes into the church, just have the credits fade in to him doing the cross over his person, and then just have him hear the symbiote suit. I hate the way I just said symbiote.
It depends on who you're talking to.
Right. And so have him go in and then take it over, and the final thing is just the Venom roar to the camera in the movie. Fucking end it right there.
Correct.
But alas, it did not.
But we didn't do that anyway.
Yeah, and Spider-Man 4 was confirmed. It was a confirmed film soon after Spider-Man 3.
I forgot. It's been so long that reading about it now, I'm like, oh yeah, it was gonna be a thing, for sure.
But pretty much, long story short, Sony was already, they were already starting to break ground on Spider-Man 4, but Sony was already, they had one foot out the door and just wanted to reboot the whole series without Sam Raimi. And Sam Raimi said, fine, okay.
Sam Raimi said, nice to see you.
Yeah, and that's why I appreciate Sam Raimi is if he's not passionate about something, he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
So I respect that big time. And that gets us into The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yep. 5 years.
Yeah.
After the release of Spider-Man 3. And even 5 years, I was like, too soon.
Yeah.
At the time, upon hearing it,
Which, real quick, before we get too far off this, have you seen that deleted scene in Iron Man where Nick Fury is talking about he said people getting bit by radioactive bugs?
Yes.
There was something there.
Yeah.
There was at least the door was open for. We could have had Tobey Maguire in the MCU.
Well, they had talked about with the Mark Webb Spider-Man that like that was gonna be the Spider-Man for the MCU. It was gonna be the lead-in.
Yeah, because it came out the same year as Avengers.
Yeah.
So
and it's so weird to think about, but at the same time, if you think about the movie and the time that it came out, you're like, oh, this could have just melted in there somehow for sure. But anyway, no.
Sorry, no. Go ahead.
No. You're great. I was just saying, like, yeah, I do remember that deleted scene, and it's again, they waited.
Yeah.
They knew. They even knew then. They were like, you know what? Give it some time.
Yeah.
And they did.
They gave it time. A lot of time. Yeah.
But
so the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man came out. 5 years. I was like, I don't think we need it. I was like vehemently upset.
Yeah.
I heard about it and I was like, I remember hearing about it and I was with friends and I out loud just went, why? Why are we doing this? I was so mad for no reason. And then it came closer and closer to time. They released the trailer. I was like, Andrew Garfield? Great. I was like, oh, this could be good.
Right.
This could be pretty good. And then I saw it. And I'll say it, fucking great.
Yeah.
They knocked it out of the park.
For sure.
I mean, you know, it's good. There's little problems that people could have. And obviously. But as a whole, for a reboot, yeah, nailed it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in the same boat. I was still very bitter about Tobey Maguire not getting another movie because I grew up with it, you know?
Exactly.
And like I think we have this weird privilege of having 3 generations of Spider-Man that made up 3 different parts of our life. Because Tobey Maguire's, we were kids. We were teenagers in high school whenever Andrew Garfield came out, and we were in college whenever Tom Holland came in. And so I was just very bitter at the fact that there was going to be a new Spider-Man. And even whenever I saw the movie, I was like, you know what, I appreciate it. This is good. I mean, I was a teenager at the time, so like I had different thoughts about movies than what I do now. But then The Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out, and I was like, okay. But just last night, I rewatched The Amazing Spider-Man for the first time in like 7 years.
In like 7 years.
And before he even got bit by the spider, I was already really into it.
Yeah, dude.
So into it. Just seeing the only thing that threw me off is the skateboard. That's the thing that still gets to me is the skateboard. And
then, yes. However, when I felt weird about it, I was like, oh, well, I mean, one, it's a reboot and it's more modern. Right. So I was like, oh, he's not like a nerd. He's just
the outcast.
Yes. He's an edgy teen. He's an outcast.
I get it. I understand
and then like the Neil Patrick Harris Spider-Man. Right. I was like, oh, well, that one's not like he's like not a nerd, but it's like edgy. Right. You know. But yeah, the skateboard, I remember when we went and saw it, I saw it with a group of friends, and I just remember being so upset the whole time simply because it's so funny to think about now because I'm like, oh, 2021 me is looking at 2012 me and being like, get over yourself. I was so upset that all the girls were like, he's so hot. Oh, yeah. Andrew he's so, Peter's so, And I was like,
I want to see you get your shit wounds cleaned.
And I was like, shut up. I was so mad at the time. Yeah. And that's all I thought about for so long. But no, as time went on and I like rewatched it and all that stuff, it's so good.
It really is. Like
and his Peter Parker is...
Yeah, the awkwardness, just the subtle jokes, just the awkward jokes of whenever he tries to tell Gwen, he's like, yeah, I'm an intern. I'm not an intern. It's like, I love it.
I don't work here. I was going to say I work here, but you would know that I don't. Yeah, like it's just the mouth vomit.
Yeah, it's just it was so charming. And like just the way that he just.
The subtlety of it. Yes. I think for me. Yeah. Yeah, because he wasn't just outright like fumbling or there were gags of like him being the nerd or being picked on.
Yeah, it wasn't 1960s. Oh, I'm going to shove your face in a toilet, nerd,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly,
You know, like
exactly.
because it's outdated. It's
Yes.
outdated. It was outdated whenever it happened in the Raimi verse, but like
it's Sam Raimi.
it still had that charm
Yeah.
of he wanted the original feel of that Spider-Man.
For sure.
So yeah, I definitely get the modern take on it.
And like I think what lends to it also is like his chemistry with Emma Stone.
Oh, dude.
It's just
the amount of chills that I was getting giddy last night just seeing those two like when hang on real quick I'm getting goosebumps real quick. Just that moment I was kind of making fun of it because he had just fought the lizard in the sewer and so like whenever he's just like laying down he's getting his like suit taken off it's like oh yeah baby clean my shit wounds
which is literally what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time,
the moment that like they're just kind of sitting there and he goes in for a kiss she's like easy bug boy. I was like, oh shit. I was like, am I feeling that right now?
It's gross, but you're like, oh, but it's so it's so good.
It's like
it's one of those where at the time you see it and you're like, they have really good chemistry. Like, what is happening? And then you later find out, oh, they were like dating. Yeah. And you're like, oh, that's brilliant.
Yes.
It didn't work out, obviously, but for the time, you can it helps.
Yeah.
It adds to it because you can feel it off the screen.
100%. And
for the connection.
For the few listeners that might get the wrong idea about this, we are specifically talking about Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, who were in their mid-20s at the time of this. So the chemistry of the two actors.
We're not fawning about teenagers falling in love. We are talking about the acting.
Actors.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I think that's and speaking on that, just great actors all around in the movie as well.
Oh yeah, there's I did not question a single casting choice throughout the whole thing.
Yeah,
even like with Kurt Connors, he built up that relationship with him as well, just because they had that common ground of Kurt Connors was very close to his dad. He never knew his dad, and this might be the closest he would get to getting into his dad's head.
Yeah.
So his dad meaning Peter Parker's dad. Yeah, just they did a really good job of just the pacing and building the relationships, even with Uncle Ben. That whole thing, I fell for that again. Exactly.
It's one of those where you groaned because you're like, oh, we've seen it, we know, and then it happens, and you're like, oh, it still really hurts. And the way that they did it specifically of the like just those two in the dark alone. Like terrifying.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there's not like a circle of policemen or pedestrians making it. It was like a very intimate, like my uncle just got shot and there's no one around.
Oh.
Like it's just heart-wrenching. But yeah, as a whole for a reboot, they did it very well and it was different enough to be separated from the Raimi universe and it got us excited for what was to come.
And what was to come?
Amazing Spider-Man 2, which bad.
Sorry, yeah. They decided, you know what made Spider-Man 3 bad? Let's make it worse.
Long story short, why didn't Sam Raimi's third movie work? Because there were too many villains. And what did they not learn? That. And so they had too many villains in Amazing Spider-Man 2. And you could feel it. I think this time it wasn't like, oh, something was introduced last minute. It was more of the fact of as the movie kept going on and kept building on these storylines, you're like, what is happening?
What's the goal?
What are we talking about? By the third act, you're like, I don't know what's going on, but something bad, a lot of bad.
Yeah.
Bad things are happening. Highlights of it though, for me, looks so good.
Yes.
The CGI for the most part looks amazing.
Arguably, I think for a lot of sequences, arguably some of the best CGI that we've seen in like superhero media, like as of today.
Fair. No, yeah. And like it's some of the best like swinging, like web swinging that I've seen ever. The way he moves in those movies are top notch. But then they drop the ball on storytelling and the villains. And kills me.
Yeah,
It kills me.
It hurts.
Yeah.
Because they introduced... It feels like they just introduced Green Goblin just to kill Gwen.
Yes.
Just to have that
Correct.
moment. And
Correct.
They could have done that without revealing to Peter who it was, because automatically he had the connection. It's like, oh, you're Harry, I get it.
Yeah.
But like if they even left that like as a mystery into that whole thing and just let the Green Goblin fly away, it's like, who is this guy that just came in? I don't even know who that is.
Fair.
Killed my girlfriend. Kinda. And
helped kill my girlfriend.
Helped kill my girlfriend. He helped me kill my girlfriend.
He helped me murder my girlfriend. What's happening?
And then it's like, you know what? We gave you this villain 30 minutes left in the movie. Or 20 minutes. I'll do you one better. We'll introduce another villain. 20 seconds left in the movie.
20 seconds!
With Rhino. Rhino.
Fucking Rhino.
Who was a main marketing tool for this movie. He was in all of the trailers.
And was barely in it.
On screen for, I think, 2.5, 3 minutes.
Yeah. Just the scene at the beginning and then the scene at the end.
Yes.
But it just, it kills me because it was such a lob. They hit such a home run with the first one, and then the second one was shattered. It just shattered everything. And you would think that they could get it right because they have so much source material.
Yeah.
You would think that they would get one aspect of it. And it didn't work. And so then we had to wait.
Let's see, that was 2014. So just 2 years. So
how? My God,
that was a long 2 years. But how did they reset so soon?
How? Because I was just thinking about it. I was like, we had 5 years in between Raimi and Webb, and then in 2016, Civil War came out,
and we got
Tom Holland, who is our
current Spider-Man. Yeah, I remember seeing him. I was happy about it. I liked the suit. I liked the initial idea. Hey, everyone, that thing. Yeah. It's like, he's just here. We know who he is.
It was I lost that trailer dropped. I was at a McDonald's. I remember vividly. I was at a McDonald's and I was with Ben George. I was with my friend Ben. And we were in the middle of a meal and I got an alert that it dropped. And I went, everyone shut up right now. And I watched it. And then that clip happened of like, hey, everyone. And then it cut off. And I just stood up and I was like, this is going to be so good. I lost my mind. I was like, he looks so incredible. It's going to be so great.
So, very, very good. I got so excited just after seeing that.
Yeah.
Which
was brilliant.
Funnily enough, that was the first MCU movie I saw was Civil War, just because I was such a Spider-Man loyalist. I kind of alluded to this in the last podcast, but I would just not watch any other superhero movies that weren't Spider-Man. So Fair. I started late on the MCU. And so getting in, make Civil War being the first one you see is so confusing. Like, Fair. You don't know anything that's going on. But it made me want to go back and watch all the other ones. And like, I'm so happy I did. Great. So happy I fucking did.
Glad you did too.
Yeah. That's and so what were your, now that we're kind of like in the recent things, like it's still kind of unfolding. We don't really have like a finished story with this trilogy yet because No Way Home is coming out next week. So what were your just some thoughts of this new Spider-Man that we have now?
I was going to mention this since we've talked about Raimi and Webb and now Wyatt, the MCU Spider-Man. Everyone said it. I'll say it again. Tobey Maguire was the perfect Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield was the perfect Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And Tom Holland is a great mixture of both.
For sure.
He is a very good Peter Parker. He is a very good Spider-Man. I don't think, you'll crucify me, but that's okay. I'll stand by my statement. I don't think he is the best Spider-Man or the best Peter Parker.
Okay, yeah.
But I love him a lot.
Yeah.
And I love what they're doing with him. And I need more of him. That's how I'll say it.
100%.
Because I strongly agree. I think nothing outmatches Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. It's just a perfect Spider-Man.
Yes.
Tobey Maguire was a great Peter Parker. Mm-hmm. He is the Peter Parker. He is nerdy. He is fumbling. He is dorky.
He has it.
He's cute. Yeah. But Tom Holland just has a great grasp at being both. I believe that he is both a everyday nerdy kid at school and then also a funny, quick-witted, strong superhero. And it's not until recently that I've thought about how different the MCU is making this Spider-Man, this Tobey Maguire, or this, not Tobey Maguire, this Peter Parker specifically, but they are making him quite different, but I'm not, like, too upset about it, because I think it's fitting the narrative that we have that has been established, and as long as the core elements are there for him, it doesn't bug me as much.
That's fair. Whenever I started just learning more about Spider-Man and everything else, whenever I first saw Homecoming, I loved it. Then I started learning more about Miles Morales.
Yeah.
And they're not doing it anymore, but it definitely seemed like they were pulling a lot of material from Miles Morales. And I could definitely see Spider-Man Homecoming being a Miles Morales movie, but instead of Peter Parker, it's Miles Morales, and instead of Iron Man, it's one of the two previous Peter Parkers that we had.
Yeah.
I could easily see that.
Yeah.
But now that Spider-Man is kind of like sectioning himself away from the Iron Man, the Iron Boy Jr., as some people call him, I'm getting that feel again that like this is Peter Parker, this is Spider-Man. It's like we'll get Miles when it's actually Miles. I don't want Miles and Peter Parker.
Yeah, I've seen people talk about that as well, and it's one of those where I don't know a lot about Miles other than what I've seen in the Into the Spider-Verse or the video games or any of that, but I know of him, and I definitely can understand that argument because, I mean, I think part of it is due to Miles is a more recent iteration in comic book lore, and so when you're making a modern Spider-Man, you're just gonna automatically fall into some of those tropes because like that's what it's the trope of the modern day, you know? But I agree with you now that we're getting more movies and more TV shows, and hopefully there's speculation that they're like trying to introduce Miles into the MCU now. You can definitely see that it's starting to be its own thing. But I think it's great for now, and hopefully what is to come will also be great and not hinder what we've already created with Tom Holland and the MCU.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So with all these years of Spider-Man, there have come a lot of different suits. Do you have any suits that kind of pop out to you?
Let me tell you. Yeah. So my favorite suit of all time is the Superior Spider-Man suit, which is the black and red color scheme.
Yes.
With it's like red and webbing up top from like shoulders up, and then it comes to like a triangle or a point on the chest, and then just black for the rest down, and then it has like a giant black spider across it.
So good.
Like that. It's just such a sleek and good design.
Yes.
It's always been my favorite. I don't know why, just something about it. I'm like that's so good.
Yeah.
But I also love the original Ben Reilly suit, the Scarlet Spider. Which is the all red but the blue hoodie over top.
Amazing.
I think that's just like it's one of those where it feels even more modern than the classic. It feels even more homemade.
Yes.
And also it's just like a good look.
Yeah.
It just works. And I really appreciate that one. And then I guess my other one, if I had to pick another one, I mean, besides 2099, because I think 2099 is spectacular.
Yes.
But film noir Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I think noir Spider-Man is such a unique thing, and it's always tickled the designer, the artist in me to be like, oh, like a 40s, 50s Spider-Man, all black.
Genius.
With like leather, but fabric, and then goggles, and then like a jacket. I don't know. I just think I think it's really cool.
For sure.
Those are just some of the ones that I love. I could go on.
Oh yeah.
About others.
Yeah, you named two of the ones I wrote down. The Scarlet Spider, which has been Riley's suit, and then Kane Riley as well. And he wore that suit that you were explaining with the red and the triangle and the black and the big black spider. Yeah. The PS4 suit as well. When I first saw it, I was like, iffy, but
it throws you off because of the white.
Yes.
The white is just so new.
Yes. And then you start playing the game and it's like, this is nice. I like it. It's advanced, it's its own take, which the Spider-Man suits, it feels like that you kind of get in this realm of, it's like, it's either got to be the classic red and blue sort of scheme, or it's got to be totally different from that.
Yes.
And that's where you find the best suits.
Yes.
So yeah, that was amazing. I love the idea behind the first Mark Webb Amazing Spider-Man suit, where it was literally just pieced together. You can see the seam where the mask meets the bodysuit.
Yeah.
The sunglasses, the sneakers.
Yeah.
I loved the idea behind that. It's not my favorite suit, but I love the idea behind it.
No, the idea for sure. Yeah. I think because it's just it's so unique and its own thing, and it lends itself more to the idea that he made it himself.
Yes.
Because like even in the montage that shows of him making it, once he puts it on, you believe it. You're looking at it and you're like, oh yeah, he could have just made that himself. But yeah, I think it's a special suit simply because like they wanted to rebrand and they did. Yeah. And it's stellar.
It worked.
Yeah, it's an incredible design.
And the only other one I have is the Iron Spider. Like not the one we in the MCU now, but like the original design Iron Spider.
The yellow emblem and yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, another one I wanted to talk about was the Spider-Man Mark IV armor, which is it looks like a regular Spider-Man suit, but it's armor, and then like the middle chest like has a glowing like green blue outline to it. It's like subtly futuristic,
yes,
but still maintaining the original design. That I'm like, that's a beautiful marriage of the two.
Yes,
it's so good.
Yeah, and there are several other suits that come with different characters. I mean, you have Spider-Gwen, you have Madam Web, you have Miles Morales,
you have Spider-Ham,
the best of all.
You have
I just wash my hands. That's why they're wet.
No other reason. Yeah, I look back at it and I'm like, what other reason? Why? What did you do?
What did you do?
Don't touch me. And you know the ones it's like there's so many suits simply because either he made them because he needed to make a new suit for whatever he was fighting.
Yeah.
Or there's so many other iterations of Spider-Man
yes.
itself that we have. But like there's so many to choose from that I can't.
So many.
That's like a whole other episode that I can talk about.
We just talk about suits.
The designs. Yeah.
Like top 3 favorite suits, top 3 least favorite suits.
That'd be so funny.
Write it down.
Write it down.
Yeah, do you have anything else on Spider-Man that would you like to point out, whether it be like his villains, or do you have anything that sticks out?
For the villains of Spider-Man, I it's upsetting because I don't even think he has the best villains by any means. Like, I think there's so many stronger villains out there than the ones that are like known for being in the Spider-Man lore. For sure. But I love, Kingpin. I love Venom, obviously. I love I've grown to like Vulture more, specifically just because of Homecoming. I just think it
Michael Keaton will make you love any character.
But also just like what they did with his character and the story, and like he was a perfect villain for a neighborhood Spider-Man. 100%. But still is somehow like the big six, one of the big six of Spider-Man's villains. I think is great. And then similarly to Mr. Freeze, I think Sandman's story in specifically the Raimi trilogy for Spider-Man 3, I think was very well done, and it really made me empathize with that character more, absolutely, especially because of his background and why he ended up there and what all happened, and I just think that was a very well written character
for sure. Absolutely. I totally agree with you with he doesn't have like the strongest villains individually, but whenever they like form the Sinister Six, like I think that's whenever they're at their most powerful. Yes. But I'll say that he probably has some of the most interesting villains, whether it becomes like their designs. And just different origins like Kraven the Hunter, Green Goblin, then Hobgoblin, just this green being that throws pumpkins and flies on a glider. It's like, who thinks of that?
It's inventive. It's very inventive.
Same thing with Doc Ock and having all the arms. It's like, it's just such a, it's just such an interesting take on like where these concepts came from, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and somebody else I actually love, and I'd love to mention here is like not really a villain, but more of like not really an anti-hero either. She's just kind of there as Black Cat.
Black Cat.
Black Cat is just so interesting.
We've yet to see a Black Cat animation yet, besides the animated shows
and the video games and
the video games.
We need it. We need Black Cat.
Yeah. It's what
we need her, not it.
Her. We need it.
The
character and
her,
the story,
the person.
Not but I think like we got Gwen in the Amazing Spider-Man. We got Mary Jane Watson in the Raimi. We got the MJ of the modern MCU, and I think adding a Black Cat in there would make such a good like conflict
with what she does and just how she always just kind of just keeps like Peter on his toes and everything. It just kind of helps that divide as well as like the Spider-Man, the Peter Parker aspect. It's like which life is going to be which, I think it's just a very good thing. And there's actually been a Black Cat and Silver Sable movie in the works for a long time, which I would love to see just their own movie in general without being driven by like Spider-Man, but have that play into this later on. But yeah, a lot of great characters, and honestly, Sony wanting to build their Spider-Man universe now, I think they finally found their footing of what they need to do with them because there are just so many interesting characters in Spider-Man's universe alone. Yeah. And so just expounding on that is going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. I saw Venom 2. Venom 1 was fine for a Venom film. I was like, cool, we got Venom. This is great. And then the second one came out and I was like, it's fine. It's fine.
It was very fast. It was a fun movie.
It was fun. It was fast. But I think if Sony's going to try to expand on the Spider-Man universe, then they need to dig a little deeper. Yeah. And we'll see what happens in time. But
with No Way Home.
No Way Home. And if you saw Venom 2, however they're going to do that,
who knows?
That'll be crazy.
Point. I'm going in I'm trying to go in so blind. There's so many leaks, so many rumors, but what we have for real is the fact that like all these villains are coming back from the previous movies. We get to relive these moments with the new age Spider-Man. That's a definite.
Yep.
Will Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield be in it?
Who knows? Literally, who knows?
And honestly, the trailer made me excited for Tom Holland. It made me so excited for Tom Holland. So if they're not in it, I'm not going to be disappointed.
That's what I was going to say for this new movie. Someone had pointed out that like this one feels like it's going to be more grounded than the others. It's crazy to say, I know, because of what's happening in the trailer, but I really think Peter's going to have a hard time in this movie. Yeah. And I don't think that conflict is going to end with this movie. I think it's going to be a little open-ended conflict of that.
1,000%.
That we're going to have to deal with later. And I'm ready for it. Yeah. I'm ready to see what they're going to pull out.
Yeah. And initially, whenever all this was coming out, a lot of people, me included, was worried about so many villains. It's like, are they going to do this again? Are they going to have so many villains?
Because we've been hurt twice.
But the beautiful thing is, that I keep reminding myself and others, is the fact that these are confirmed, the returning villains from these previous movies. We don't need an origin. We're not going to get an origin of them. They're already established characters. They have their motives. We're going to find out their updated motives, and then we're just going to take off.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no introductions. We know who they are.
Yeah, I think that's going to help it a lot. And also, we are now at the point where if you're as into it as we are, you've stuck around for the story development of Marvel. Mm-hmm. We now know what it means to have multiple characters mesh together to form one thing, and then ultimately fight and become in this greater scheme of things that we've been working on. And so I think since we've had that past experience, it's not going to hit us as bad this time around because we're used to it now. Back then we weren't. We were just like, where are these people coming from? Why are all of them here? Like, where did you? I don't know you. Who are you? Yeah. But now that we've had all these phases and all these character developments and all this stuff, I think it won't be as bad.
For sure. All in all, very excited. We're just a week away.
We're a
little over a week away, but next week. Next week the movie comes out. And
It's next week.
it's next week. We've waited so
Dude.
long, seeing so many faces.
I can finally
after
stop
20
hearing
years.
about it.
Yeah.
Finally.
It got to a point there, it sounded like it was just a concept. It sounded like it just kept becoming a concept.
Someone said one thing and then it got turned into
Yeah.
something else, is what it felt like.
And now it's here. It's
But
coming.
It's confirmed.
It's coming hard. It's coming fast.
It's happening.
It's coming right in our face, man.
I'm glad you said it. Because I was trying not to, but I wanted to. And if you couldn't tell, we really love Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Needless to say, we're going to continue loving Spider-Man, continue being excited for what's to come of Spider-Man, especially the film that comes out next week. And I guess that's all we can say about it for now until we...
episode 4, I guess, is whenever we'll actually be able to talk about it, because this being episode 2, the episode's coming out every Friday.
So we record on Mondays and release them on Fridays.
Yes.
So it'll take us 2 more episodes to be able to talk about it.
Yes, because we're going Thursday next week to go see the movie together.
Yeah.
And so it won't be that Friday's episode, but the following Friday you will hear our thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're going to have
Plenty.
lot. But yeah, I think that's for now, because eventually we'll talk about Spider-Man again.
Yeah.
But I think for now, we've said enough that we can
For sure.
about Spider-Man.
Yeah, this episode it's gonna be it's
longer.
gonna be a little longer.
It's going to be a little longer. As long as you listen to at least a little bit of it, that's fine with me. You don't have to stick around if you don't want to hear us drone on. Moving on from that, to finish up things here, Aaron, what have you been watching, reading, listening to lately?
As I covered at the beginning of this, I just watched Tick Tick Boom.
Yes.
I have been listening to the cast recording nonstop. I listened to it on the way over here. I'm definitely gonna listen on the way back home.
I'm already working on a cover of 3090.
Really?
Yeah, because I love that song.
That's
it's
beautiful.
killer.
Wow. It's such a good song. Like, I'm trying to learn Boho Days, and like there's probably gonna be some singing videos on Instagram like as I'm going home to like at least 3 of the songs.
Absolutely.
Who knows? Yeah. So yeah, Tick Tick Boom. Still working on Arcane, as I was talking about last week. But a band that I'm actually listening to right now, I went to see them in concert, socially distanced, masked, vaxxed concert.
Correct.
A band called Ginger. Ginger. They are, I forget exactly what country, so I don't want to misspeak on that. But it is around, like, I think around like the Ukraine, I think is where they're from. So it's metalcore at its heart. It's the lead singer is this plays into like what I'm about to say. The lead singer is a woman.
Okay.
Beautiful singing voice, wonderful cleans.
Wonderful.
But when she gets to like the screams and the growls and the low, like as metalcore does.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Like, her range is out of this world. She sounds like a monster.
I love that. There's nothing that tickles my fancy more than a nice, powerful female singer in a band.
Yes.
Especially if it's a rock or a metal band.
100%.
Because, like, it's something that you could dream about, and then it happens.
Yes.
And you're like, ha! So I bet it's knocking your socks off.
Oh,
sure.
100%. But yeah, so saw them in concert, wonderful live, just as much as she is on the CD.
Good, that's good.
And so that's just been a couple of things I've been listening to. Some new, some old. Yeah, we're trucking. What about you?
Incredible. I just started watching this show on HBO called The Sex Lives of College Girls, and I think it's co-written, I believe, or at least co-produced with Mindy Kaling. And it's such a wonderful show simply because I love the more fresh take on a college show.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very... I'm going to say it, but I hate that I'm saying it because you'll know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's so inspirational. It's such an inspirational show. And like, not to sound like that kind of person.
Yeah.
But like, it is. It's just so nice. It's nice to see fresh takes on the situations that these college students are in, since it's from the viewpoint of these girls starting college.
Yeah.
You know, it's breaking some of those tropes where there's also like certain serious situations that they tackle, but like, I don't want to say in a lighthearted way, but like not as depressing and dramatic as like other shows could make it.
Yeah.
Like there's a character that is having an affair with her coach on the soccer team. And it's like, that's a serious matter.
Yeah.
Very. But the way that they're handling it, it's not that they're like making light of it or making fun of it. It's just they're handling it in a very light way. So
Right.
like you're seeing that happen and you see the fallout of it, but the consequences aren't as bad as like people could make them out to be.
Yeah.
Like specifically, spoilers in the episode I just watched, she's been trying to keep it a secret this whole time, for many obvious reasons. And then by the end of the episode, it comes out that this has happened and that it's her. And she goes to talk to her coach about it. And in my mind, I'm sitting here like, oh, great. She's going to get chastised, going to get kicked off the soccer team, going to go through all these yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
What they did was this character walked into her coach's home, explained everything, was very emotional. And the coach said, oh, you're not in trouble. I'm not giving any names about this because it's none of their business, first of all. And also, you're only 18. Like, you don't know better. This is a learning experience.
An actually supportive adult
Yes.
that should be in that situation.
Yes.
Wow.
Exactly. And so I'm like, oh, it's so great to see this kind of scenario and this sort of outcome.
Yeah.
When a lot of other places would just be like, this is an issue. You're in trouble. Now you're a bad person. Run from it. They actually took a moment to be like, hey, this happens. And also, like, you made your own choices. We've ended it. We've squashed it. That's where it stops. Like, we don't need to drag you into this. We don't need to drag the public into this and all this stuff. And I appreciate that. And so this show is doing a very good job at, like, tackling certain subjects with a fresh take.
For sure.
And I just think it's really commendable. I highly suggest it to anyone that hasn't watched it. It's on HBO Max. It's a really good show. I'm really loving it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I need to check that out. Like, you sold me. So
that's what I'm saying. It's just it's a very great show.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us on episode 2 of Double A's, Batteries Not Included. Tune in next week for whatever we talk about.
We don't know yet, but we'll discuss it.
All right, make sure you're following us on Instagram and make sure you're following us on Spotify as well. That's where all the new episodes are going to be posted. And the video version is going to be on YouTube as well. So make sure that you are following us there.
All right, that's it. Until next time. Bye.
See ya.